Welcome to you all. In this video, we'll discuss about 10 important data science terms and myself, Dr. Santosh Krishna. Now, what is data science? Data science is a combination of multiple disciplines that utilizes statistics, data analysis, and machine learning to analyze various forms of data and to extract knowledge and insights from it. So, it is a branch of science which discusses about statistics, data analysis, machine learning together. And before we discuss about the data set, one of the best way to learn and to study any topic is simply going through its terminologies and understand various concepts easily. Now, with this insight, let us start the first terminology, dataset. A dataset is an ordered collection of data. As we know, a collection of information obtained through observations, measurements, study, or analysis is referred to as data. Which we can say that a dataset is an organized into some types of data structure. In a database, for example, a dataset might contain a collection of business data. Example, it may be containing names, salaries, contact information, sales figures, and so forth. In short, I can say that dataset is a file which will have an ordered collection of data. For example, the test scores of each student in a particular class is a dataset, where the scores may be between 0 to 10 or 1 to 100. It may be anything, but is an ordered data. Another good example is the number of fish eaten by each dolphin at an aquarium is a data. The collection of all this together is called as a dataset. Dataset can be in the form of images or in the form of raw data. We can say that it is a bits of information clustered together. It's called as dataset. Now the second one is data wrangling. What is data wrangling? Data wrangling can be defined as the process of cleaning, organizing, and transforming raw data into desired format for analysis to use for prompt decision making, which means that cleaning up of data. The original form of data may be an unstructured data, and data may contain some unwanted information. Deleting data that is either unnecessary or irrelevant to the project which we are working on is called as data wrangling. It refers to a variety of process desired to transform raw data into more readily used data. Data wrangling can be done either manually or it can be done automatically depending upon the applications. Now, there is a term called as data cleaning, which is more similar to data wrangling with some little difference. What is the difference between the data cleaning and data wrangling? The process of removing corrupted or inaccurate records from a table or database or record is called as data cleaning, whereas data wrangling is a process of transforming and mapping data from one raw data into another form with the intent of making it more appropriate and valuable for various tasks. Which means that data cleaning can also be called as data cleansing, whereas data wrangling is also called as data munging. But in some places, data cleaning, data wrangling, data munging are used interchangeably. Third terminology is data visualization. As we know that visuals speak more than the words. Data visualization is the practice of translating information into a visual context such as a map or a graph to make data easier for the human brain to understand and pull insights from. Now, when we show the same information in the form of tables, it is difficult to identify, analyze something. Whereas when we represent it in the form of pictures, charts, some form of diagrams, it is easy to understand, easy to make everyone to understand. So data visualization is very important tool and terminology in the case of data science. The fourth one is outliers. What is outliers? An outlier is an object that deviates significantly from the rest of the objects, which means that something different from everyone. We call, in the early code we used to study, like pick the odd man out, which is odd among all others. They can be used or they can be caused by measurement or execution errors. The analysis of outlier data is called as outlier analysis. So I cannot say that outlier is a noise or error. Instead, we can say that they are suspected of not being generated by the same method as the rest of the other objects. For example, now we can say that here in this picture, we could see that there is a graph where we have only single dot which is not associated with this line which is forming. So such thing is called as outlier, which is standing out in a crowd is called as outlier. That is why defined outlier is an object that deviates significantly from the rest of the objects. Now there is a task for you. Now you need to identify which is the outlier in this pics. Now we can easily say the pic in the first one, the fish which is in red color or brown color is the odd man out, so it is an outlier. Similarly, in this graph, the green dot is an outlier, right? So here in this bottles, we could see a bottle here which is an outlier, and in the chest pants we could see one which is there is dark brown is a outlier. So now we could able to understand what is an outlier. Outlier is the one which stands out of the box. The fifth one is data imputation. Data imputation is a substitution of estimated values for missing or inconsistent data items. For example, in the case of machine learning, data sets are very important. Sometimes what happens in data sets, some data may be missing. So imputation is a process of substituting some suitable values in the place of those missing values so that the dataset can be complete, which can be analyzed using standard techniques for complete data. So I have given a small picture here where when something is lost, we are fixing it with a similar one so that the data will be complete. Sixth one is data scaling. Data scaling is nothing but scaling the features which will improve the quality and predictive power of the model. Machine learning is a mixture of variety of information. So now when we are making a juice, let me say that we are making a fruit juice, we should know the combination of everything. If I am mixing two fruits, say I have an apple and a cherry, I should know how much proportion I should use apple and cherry so that I can get a good juice out of that. The scaling of the data comes under the set of steps of data pre-processing when we are performing machine learning algorithms in the data set. Now, feature scaling in machine learning is one of the most critical steps during the pre-processing of data. Why? Because see, now when we know that in this particular basket there are good apples from our observation, we can able to pick the apples very soon. If suppose in a basket there is a mixture, like there are good apples as well as bad apples, it is difficult for us to pick up an apple which is good or a bad. So data scaling plays a very major role in finding out or improving the quality and predictive power of the model in the case of data science. The seventh one is data partitioning. It is a technique for physically dividing the data during the loading of the master data. For example, when there is a certain set of images, we can classify the images into two categories: training class and then testing. For example, if I have a group of animals, I can able to classify into two domestic animals and wild animals. Similarly, data partitioning is to make things classify easily so that we can able to use them very efficiently. In machine learning, dataset is often partitioned into training and testing datasets. Now, when we learned about datasets and training and testing, the next important term we need to learn is supervised learning. Wait, we have the 10th one, which is very important one. You can watch that 10th one. 10th point is an important point. So 8th one is supervised learning. It is the types of machine learning in which machines are trained using well labeled training data. As we know that data is divided into two, training and testing, which means that training data is already they have labeled the data, which means that they know that which are apples. Now the data is input data when we are giving some input data, and we also they say that these are apples. So when you see something like this, you must analyze that they are apples, which means that we are training the machines with some known data, with some labeled information. We'll discuss more on supervised learning and unsupervised learning in a separate video. Now the labeled data means some input data is already tagged with the correct output, is called as the supervised learning. It is like learning with the help of a instructor is called as supervised learning. Since supervisor or instructor knows something, he'll be able to train us in a proper way. Whereas unsupervised learning is learning, no learning, just experimenting. It is like unsupervised learning, also known as unsupervised machine learning, uses machine learning algorithms to analyze and cluster labeled data sets. For example, now in this basket as input data, we have multiple apples, carrots, oranges are there. We are just giving it to an algorithm. Algorithm should be able to classify them into apples, oranges, carrots. Whereas in the previous method, we will teach what is a carrot, what is an apple, how it will look like to the machine, so that machine can able to predict it when the same picture is or similar picture is shown to that. Whereas unsupervised data, no labeling, nothing. It is just a model. We are giving input data, and with that help of the model, it has to classify and give us the outputs. Now comes the 10th one, which is the bonus one, classical machine learning. What is classical machine learning? Here classical machine learning is divided into two. One is supervised learning, other one is unsupervised learning. Supervised learning is a task driven, unsupervised is a data driven, where supervised learning will have a pre-categorized data. Already categorized data is already present. Based on that, we are training the machines. Whereas unsupervised learning is unlabeled data. Two types of supervised learning are classification and regression. And unsupervised learning is clustering, association, dimensionality reduction. We'll talk more about supervised learning and unsupervised learning in our next video. Hope this is useful to you. Thank you.